That's weird. Did it start? Maybe it did. That's weird.
Let's go back on the record then, 22-5965-FH. Coming back from lunch. A couple of things to tie off. When we left, there were a couple of evidentiary issues that we need to talk about. The first deals with the company transcript, Exhibit 134 and Exhibit 130.
It encompasses the what?
A couple of evidentiary issues. The first deals with Exhibit 134 and the associated transcript, which is Exhibit 134T. There was a question as to timing. I recall the testimony from the agent. It was a minute or two after 134. A minute or two after 133. Mr. Barnett objected to that. His notes indicated that I believe it was 5 hours.
Just under 5 hours, Your Honor.
Okay. 5 hour difference, which would have been the trip back, to my understanding, as opposed to going up. And in talking to the parties, they were able to review that clip and review their notes. And Mr. Ralston, it's my understanding that Mr. Barnett was accurate, that it was from the trip down at a different time stamp. Is that correct?
4 hours and 26 minutes later. That's correct, Judge.
Okay. So as I told the attorneys, what we'll do when the jury comes back in, I will simply let them know of the issue, that his testimony previously was inaccurate, that it was nearly 5 hours after on the road trip back. Mr. Ralston, if you choose to correct the testimony, that's perfectly appropriate along with that instruction. Mr. Barnett, is there any other curative instruction at this stage? We'll get to mistrial in just a moment, but if that's not done, any other curative action you would like to see the court?
Is that the curative action the court wishes to take at this time?
That's the one that I would propose. I don't think that we've reached manifest necessity for mistrial at this point. I think that, and I understand the concept of, and I think I even said it earlier in the case, of not being able to unring a bell. But I certainly think that if they're instructed by the court as to the error, I don't think that the thought lingers in the head. I think that the person would acknowledge the change. So I think that step does remedy the issue and will correct the information.
It's time to calm down. Like this a little bit. Just think, uniformly request that Mr. Molitor's case be dismissed for the prejudice that just happened. Our entire defense was he doesn't know anything about this when he's getting in the car. And what was testified about was that 1 minute after, maybe 2, that he's been in the car, he's getting the issue of omission broke. And then right in, where he gave his conditional response. That's the crux of our whole case, and it's been bumped from the way back, down, from Elk Rapids, back to Cadillac. That's when it occurred. And it was stated clearly twice, once before the exhibit came in, once while the exhibit was sitting in front of the jury. But that is so prejudicial, I don't know how we unring that bell ever. And they've heard this, they've heard it from the same witness they're gaining trust with, this case is going on. And now they have 4 hours and 26 minutes off. And they put it so far out of context, I don't know how the jury, in your mind, I don't know how they're going to handle this. We might be able to unring it. I don't know that they can. And that's something that's so critical. We're at the heart of our whole case, which he didn't know what he was getting into. He's stuck in the back seat. He's no pre-notice. Then the context in which it did occur, which was afterwards, and why he said what he said. He will be testifying about this. But in this trial, is secondary to actually a dismissal. In fairness, you cannot erase this prejudice from the jury in my mind. And I would ask the court at this time to make that rule. Have this excuse from the case. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand the court's position regarding correcting this error. Obviously, we're in favor of that. But, and that was over an hour ago, maybe over an hour and a half.
So are these guys trying to get a mistrial or what's going on?
And I'm not doing Mr. Barnett's case, but I think they should be able to at least view the exhibit, not go through the whole thing, by way of audio, but at least go through the exhibit so they have context of what came afterwards as opposed to what the agent testified came before the trip up. So I think letting them look at the exhibit will provide context regarding the mistake made by the agent. And I would suggest
I had
that
heard
for
that
the
too.
board.
I just wasn't sure if it applies to this case or not because there's been more than one
Because
case. So
It's giving
if
context
you know, let me
instead
know.
of
So I
saying,
can also
oh, by
research
the way,
it
you made
later.
a mistake.
But
you know, the trip
obviously
back
very
said trip
important.
up. With the amount of information that they're getting, I'm not sure if they're taking hold of, what's up or what's down at this point in time. So we're going to be showing them the exhibit, giving them an
Thanks.
opportunity to take a look at it, so they can assess for themselves the importance of it. And I'm just offering that as a suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, that's appreciated. Mr. Sauer, anything for you?
Judge, I just concur with Mr. Nunzio as well as with Mr. Barnett. I think it's highly prejudicial.
Mr. Burnett, anything else?
No, thanks for hearing me out. I appreciate the court's indulgence, and I appreciate the prosecution double checking, and finding that there wasn't severe error, or my words, severe error made here that I think was fixable. in my view.
Mr. Wilson, anything for you?
I think the question before the court is, is there a manifest necessity for this trial? And, essentially the definition of manifest necessity is there's nothing we can do to correct this error that's occurred during trial. And that's not the case here. There is. And there's two things that are going to happen. You're going to instruct a jury, and I'm going to go through it with the witness. So no, there's no manifest necessity.
Well, I certainly take to heart Mr. Barnett's point. I understand, especially given the case that he plans to put forward, the impact that something like this would have. I also appreciate the suggestion from Mr. Nunzio. Context is important. So I think what we'll do is this. When the jury comes back in, we'll play 133 again. And then, so if we could be ready to do that.
Mhm.
And then at that point, I will instruct them that 134 is the exhibit that was played. It was testified to that this occurred a minute later. Mr. Barnett objected to that. And then it was researched over lunch and determined that that was incorrect, that it was 4.5 hours later almost on the trip back. But so that they understand the error, we're going to play 134 for them again so that way they hear both exhibits again. They understand the error, where it fits in. In the court's mind, that is sufficient, though I do take to heart the arguments made by Mr. Barnett and the attorneys. And certainly, we've talked about manifest necessity a couple of times today, and there can be a cumulative effect. Hopefully, we don't have that issue. That certainly is not as well. So, Mr. Nunzio, anything else for you?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Sack?
No, thank you.
Mr. Barnett, anything else for you?
Is the court going to address this at the end of the case too, as we speak to the jurors, or is this going to be taken care of now?
Well, I guess
no
the corrective
mistrial.
action being taken now by the court is what will be taken today. When we talk about jury instructions and whether anything else is necessary at that time, certainly a party can request that and we can look at that.
Thank you.
Anything else for you, Mr. Wilson?
No, sir.
Okay. All rise for the jury.
So my limited understanding of the case so far is these guys are charged with aiding in a terrorist act by others and having a gun while they do it. Those are the charges they face. So we'll see what this witness has to say. If we come back to this case streaming it tomorrow, I'll be better prepared and lay out the actual charges, what they are, and hopefully have summarized the theory of the case by the state and the defense and what pretrial issues occurred that set it up like this. As I put up some comments before about this entrapment defense that I think was disallowed. So that's something bad for the defense.
Everyone can be seated. Thank
A
you.
lot of argument in this case, of course. How many government informants were there? Were they the ones really driving this? What was really going on?
We need to take care of one evidentiary issue with you all.
Okay, comes the judge to cure the issue.
Two audio files, there were exhibits 133 and 134. You heard those previously, and it was testified to that exhibit 133 was audio from inside a vehicle as it traveled north, and then the testimony was that 134 occurred within a couple of minutes after 133. Mr. Barnett objected to that. He disagreed with the timeline that was being presented to you all. It was testified to again that it was a couple of minutes later, I believe. And I just did do research during lunch and listened to it. It is determined that that was an error. And so, as Mr. Barnett objected to, and the information he provided, which was that the second audio clip, meaning exhibit 134, that took place approximately 4.5 hours after it was previously testified to. As Mr. Barnett indicated, it was on the ride back down, not the ride forward. Okay, so I want to inform you of that correction. The other thing that we're going to do is play both of them again for you so that we can properly take in the context of that error. And then obviously this is one of those things where I've instructed you in terms of the weight of the evidence that you give it, credibility, and those kinds of things. This is an example of where that fits in. Okay, so we'll play 133 first, please.
Okay, let's see that. So, of the group who was watching. Okay. We got over. We'll see that over. So, going to read. Little message, you know what I mean? Little message to tell you. I mean, you don't have to want next year. Bring your ass up, though. You know, this is our vote. You don't need to have vote to make Michigan or any city. So you look at that somewhere else.
When you said we're going to have mental dinner in the stand.
Okay, so that was exhibit 133. If you recall, the corrected timeline is exhibit 134 was not 2 minutes later, but it's 4.5 hours later. Okay, we can play 133.
What is it? Your interest is decent, but I don't know. Now, this is not obviously. Some people like
say, all right, this one work, this one work, this one work. Okay? Okay. That's where we're at right now. Like, we're before we
it's gotta be. It's like I'm getting.
it's gonna be fucking all together. This is why we're going to do that. This is why we're getting ready. While we're getting ready, we're also ready for something on paper.
So it's gonna be like what's gonna become of it. Yeah, This is a nice thing, but this like, nationally, yes, it's almost a big,
We're gonna have add all this. We're gonna leave it. Very fucking big. But in the day, we don't do something. Half-back snatch left, half-back snatch right, I don't care about else middle. We ain't got an all fucking place. We're just gonna grab the fucking. Shake it down and fucking go. Can't wait.
I mean, as long as you keep saying that, like, as long as it's just look at it. I didn't know that. That is actually, it's stupid. I want to shoot people. I'm not saying nothing about you guys, and so I just thought to see about this something. I'm just letting you know, like, I'm able to tell against the
All say right now. Unless we know for sure that we can use this stuff.
Leave that up there if you would, Adam.
So does everyone understand the error that was made and corrected on? Okay. Mr. Austin, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Agent Impla, during lunch, did you go back and scrub the times?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and did you discover this error?
Yes, I discovered a typo on my timestamp for Exhibit 134.
Okay, and Mr. Barnett was correct, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Now, you told us before lunch, this is what was said almost immediately on getting in the car, is that correct?
That's what I said, yes.
This is actually said after the daytime surveillance, is that right?
Correct. So on the ride home, after the daytime surveillance, this is when the timestamp is on this statement.
And that's after they've driven by the governor's cottage?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and after they've had, tell us about the different things that happened during the course of the daytime surveillance before Mr. Molitor says, dude, I'm in as long as shit, you keep saying like it's going to be done professionally. I mean,
Sure.
Tell us about some of the things that happened before Mr. Molitor makes that statement.
Sure. So this clip occurred at 5:03. So looking at the significant events timeline here. So all the way up to between 15 and 16. So the first 15 items that are on the daytime surveillance timeline, all of those events occurred. And then this statement was made on the ride home between 15 and 16 on the significant events timeline for the daytime surveillance.
So this happens, if I'm looking at the daytime surveillance timeline correctly, it happens after Mr. Molitor searches for Governor Whitmer's cabin address.
That's correct.
And it happens after the first drive-by of the house.
Yeah. it's
Okay,
definitely
does it
leading.
happen after item number 7 in the timeline, first
Yes.
drive-by the house? Does that happen after their discussion?
Objection, I'm sorry, make another objection, just ask Trace's questions about a leading nature, referring to exhibits now, that's stated as well.
A leading question is one that suggests an answer. I don't believe that does, Judge.
It did.
Did it happen after item number 7, the first drive by the house?
I'll allow the question.
Yes.
And does it happen after they have lunch at the Red Bull Tavern?
Yes,
Okay, and item number 9, does it happen after Mr. Molitor searches for Governor Whitmer's address?
yes,
And does it happen after item number 12, after the second drive by the governor's home?
yes,
And does it happen after items 13 and 14, the activity at the boat launch?
yes,
Okay, so when he says, dude, I'm in as long as shit, you keep saying that like it's going to be done professionally. It happens after all those things, actually, correct?
yes.
Okay, very good. I'm ready to move on to, we were on exhibit 135, I believe.
I hate to interrupt you, but we can exhibit with a timestamp on it that's incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, when you ask your own witness, did such and such happen this way? Did it happen that way? Correct. That is, of course, leading, which sometimes is okay.
We'll correct
but
that, Judge.
It's certainly leading.
Sorry?
Time on the,
Yeah.
There is no timestamp on
Yeah,
it.
there
I
isn't.
see the length, I don't see.
okay, very well, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, and I'm missing anything.
No, sir.
Okay.
Exhibit 135, I think, is where we left off, and that was the proposed exhibit 135, the photo of the radio frequency detector. I think you were telling us before lunch, Agent Impala, a little bit about that and how you learned about it. And you said that you researched on Google and Mr. Cyber.
Ask for a question, not a narrative.
Well, I think for that one specifically, he was simply reorienting the witness to the question. I understand the objection.
We'd ask him to ask a question.
Okay. Mr. Wilson, well.
May I continue? Okay. And again, I'm going to start over. When we were
I
before.
think we're good. We all know where we are now. He's been oriented to the question, so go ahead.
Okay, and you used the word Google, and then there was an objection by Mr. Cyber, and we ended there, I think. Where were you going on Google to research this device?
I was going to the manufacturer's website of RF detectors
Okay.
to find the specs,
Okay.
which is the cut sheets or the equipment description of their capabilities.
Okay, and did you communicate at all with Dan about this device?
I did.
Tell us about that.
I showed Dan photographs of different RF devices and asked him to pick out which one it was, which he did.
So
Okay.
Dan wasn't
And
informed.
after identifying it, tell the jury a little bit about what you learned.
So I reviewed the capabilities and the specs from the cut sheet on the devices, and I realized that it was able to detect radio frequency signals, so anything transmitting.
We're dealing with multiple devices. He just said I reviewed all the devices. We need to know expertise about the device, not multiple devices.
Mr. Wilson, perhaps you have additional questions about this device.
I mean, once okay. The device that you asked Dan to identify which device it was. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then is that the device you went to and researched?
Yes, I
Okay.
researched only the device, which is this device right here, which is the one Eric Molitor had.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And what did you learn?
So I learned it had the ability to detect radio frequencies. So that means if something is transmitting a radio signal, it would alarm. And then it also had the ability to detect infrared camera lenses. So if there's an
This is not what
That's pretty cool, though.
the manual says. It's a camera finder. It's not infrared.
Hey, Judge, that's not a valid objection. It's not a legal objection.
That he's wrong.
Everybody, hang on. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break from the courtroom. If you please give us a few minutes, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's fair for the defense to be as into the weeds as they are here because they're trying to skip along pretty quickly on this electronic device item to tell their narrative. And the defense is saying, look, this has got to be particular to what was used here and its actual capabilities. On the other hand, objecting because the witness is wrong isn't, necessarily a good objection. It's for cross-examination, but I get what the defense is doing and see why they would be doing it.
Josh, I'd love to see the manual he's looking at, this does not have an infrared, it's not an IR. It's got an IRF, which is what we talked about, that's valid. There's no infrared detector. It's text, it's supposed to, this $50 item is supposed to find camera lenses.
And that's what I just took the agent's testimony.
He said infrared, that's a whole different thing, like for radar. Like the light spectrum will come out for lights. If they,
It sounds cooler though with infrared. It sounds
This is not
cooler.
infrared, this is a lens. We had, his foundation was what we looked at on Google to help us. And I just want accurate testimony. I apologize for stepping in again. It's all fast.
So the testimony was that you looked at the spec sheet for this device from the manufacturer, is that correct, agent?
Yes,
Okay, and that's what your testimony was based on?
yes.
Okay. Other than the testimony of what the company said that you do, I don't know what you or anybody else would do with the testimony.
Which I think what Mr. Martin is getting at is, he hasn't identified the item. This could be a Sony, this could be a Panasonic, this could be a Emerson. We don't know what device it is. We don't know the model number. We don't know what he's looked at. There's no foundation been laid, and this is a major issue when it comes down to this type of piece of equipment. Mr. Barnett is trying to make sure that we don't have to give another curative instruction or another correction to the FBI's testimony.
Dang, it just dumped on the FBI guy.
We get a second one today.
We don't want to have another curative judge. That's why we're doing this. This is sad.
Mr. Barnett, anything additional?
It says RF, GS detector, whatever GS is. We weren't afforded to have the manual or whatever he looked at to be prepared today. I would ask that we go by a different area and come back with the, whatever he looked at. And I think we're going to find that there's another error occurring here and overstepping.
Boom.
Okay, well, the.
Can I be heard, Judge?
What's that?
Can I be
Well,
heard?
I think Mr. Wilson wants it.
Okay.
What the court will allow is the testimony of the witness insofar as what he did. He testified that he researched this particular device by going to the company's page and looking at the spec sheet for this particular device. I don't know that we need the model number and referencing the photograph to say that it's this particular device he's looked at. If it turns out that that's wrong, then we'll go from there, and if it needs to be corrected, fine. If we get to the level or to the point where we're at a mistrial, then fine. But the court can only deal with the testimony that has been presented. And so it's my understanding that the research you did is relative to this device in particular. Is that correct, agent?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else for you, Mr. Wilson?
Yeah, just, I'm going to weigh in on this issue, Judge, not in this particular issue, but overall. The objections that are coming here are really, they're not legal objections. It's not, based on a rule of evidence. It's not based on case law. I mean, the attorneys for the defendants are using this opportunity essentially to do two things. One, cross-examine the witness, which is, it's not appropriate to do that now. And two, to also make arguments to the jury. And I'd ask the court to curtail that. I mean, that's, these talking objections are arguments that are being made for the benefit of the jury, not because they're trying to enlighten the court as to a legal reason why it shouldn't be allowed.
Mr. Johnson, anything for you?
No, thank you.
Mr. Sadler?
Just Judge, I still haven't heard any foundation of who made this device, what's the model number.
The DA's a little
anything like
butthurt,
that.
isn't it?
I
Yeah,
looked up the device. Well, that's real general.
I'm agreeing with you here right now. He's
Not an
kind of
expert,
butthurt.
be specific on what the model number was, who manufactured it, what website you can go to. Can I do it right from my computer here? He's not giving us any information that we can go and find. It's all general. So we'd ask the court to be foundational and be specific. I guess Brother Counsel's looking for an objection. It's number one, relevance. Number two, lack of foundation. Thank you.
Mr. Barnett, anything else for you?
I think we said most of it, and I appreciate the court putting up with my interruptions. I just want to have a clear record here and help have a fair trial for my steps here. And I'm just telling the court that this is not an IR, and I'm telling the witness, and I'm asking that we have a moment to look at the annual report, so we can go out here back where we should have.
Well, the The notes that the court has heard relative to this, I understand relative to admissibility, relevance the court has talked about previously and dealt with. In terms of foundation, the agent testified that he looked up the spec sheet on this particular device after it was identified for him. The one that's identified in proposed exhibit 135. He testified as to how he got that information was from the manufacturer's website, what the manufacturer's website is, as well as the name, make, and model number are not necessary for the use of this photograph. The key is whether or not it's a fair and accurate representation of the device that was
Well,
found.
let's get that model number out there
as
at
well
a
as his
10%
ability to
discount at Amazon.
basis for his ability to,
It's pretty cool, man. I
answer
want something that
questions
lets
on
me
the
know if somebody's
for it,
triggering a radio
that
around me
from
and
the company website.
got some kind of camera going on. It's pretty
Unless there
cool.
are additional foundation questions.
Judge, what company? I need to be able to go find it on the computer right now. I need to know what company.
Can I
I
help?
need to know what model number.
Angela, do you know the company name and or model number for it?
I found it on Amazon. I
There
don't
it is.
know the company name, but it's published in Amazon under the review, and the cut sheets can be accessed through the website.
Take a moment and get that information, Mr. Stack.
And also, in the discovery we provided a picture of the box that came in with the name and the manufacturer on it.
But this
So
guy
it's
doesn't
in the
know that.
discovery. Oh, no, it was in there. And
Mr. Wilson, you have the
Thank you.
information to this.
Yeah. He's wishing this exam could just move on. Pesky defense lawyers asking questions and making objections. And the FBI witness sits in the school grade witness stand, which itself was not ordered off Amazon, but rather wished.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate your patience.
They could order one off Prime, they'd have it by tomorrow. They could actually show it.
I can step out there this time.
Yes, sir.
So I've heard a lot about these cases. I'm interested in watching this to see what the deal actually is for these cases, because a lot of people are very skeptical of the cases overall and in general. And then, of course, some people think it's great and that these are terrible terrorists and they should all be locked up. And some people, I'm sure, have an opinion based on the evidence in the cases. But, of course, like a lot of these things, some opinions are simply based on which side you are politically. So I want to get up to speed myself on this to see what's going on here. I know there was some pretrial action about what could be argued and couldn't be argued. We had a comment about that earlier on the potential to argue entrapment as a defense. And I'm sure there were other issues as well, too. So, I mean, obviously, that guy Fox, the little audio they played earlier, it didn't sound too good in terms of the defense side. But, you know, there are three people that are on trial here, and I was only hearing comments back from one of them on all that. So I'm not sure how that ties any of the other two people together. And if they're just trying to make it so that, hey, if this one guy heard it and he didn't disavow it, then they're all terrible. Is that what they're trying to do here? We'll have to see what all that means. Yes, very nice of him to do that. I've got his opinion on this case, I think, and I won't speak for him. I'll let him speak for himself when he wants to, but I think he probably knows a lot more about the facts and procedural history of all these things than I do. But I'll be better up to speed tomorrow. I'm just learning about it a little bit today with you, and people commenting. A lot of you probably know more about it than I do. So if I'm not talking back directly to points you're making, in some cases, because I just don't know, and I don't want to overweight my own lack of knowledge and try to overstep what you're saying about the case. So what kind of law do I do? Well, I mean, my primary history has been on the civil side and not on the criminal side, because I had more fun doing things on the civil side. But, you know, I have some experience in the criminal side a long time ago, particularly because I used to represent a police department. And also before that, before I was licensed, I worked with the Department of Crime Control and Public Safety here in profiling, going around the state for potential serial offenders, both, you know, murder and also assault type cases. So Yeah, I got the short version of that, and Viva and Barnes have talked about it a lot. Yeah, and probably because this has been going on for a long time, right? And I'll just tell you the reason that I don't know a lot about it is because I didn't want to know a lot about it, because there's only, especially around the time this was going on with all the, the protocols for the virus and things like that. There's a limit to how much I can intake, and my blood pressure doesn't go all the way up through the roof, and it's bad enough around here. I filed a federal lawsuit myself against the city here for some things they did that I thought were biased and not even handed with regard to civil rights. And I know for many people, civil rights shouldn't apply to the people you disagree with. And that is certainly a popular concept here in Raleigh, North Carolina. But the federal judges have not all bought into that, thankfully. So that's cool. So worked out a deal with them on that. They're pretty pissed about the entrapment. And that's definitely one I'm going to be putting my mind to more tonight. I want to see how it got handled procedurally, because I know there were multiple informants in this case. And then you have the issue of the interaction between the government and the informants, right? And then how much the government pushed this alleged conspiracy along versus the people who they say were the actual people who should go to jail for it, right? Who were the prime actors. And entrapment is legally a tricky thing. Not everything that everybody thinks is entrapment. However, on the other hand, if you're a defendant, you should be able to argue the defenses that you think apply as long as you have some basis for it. I generally always believe that. Yeah, I mean, I still had that's another comment about law practice, involvement in some cases along the way. Mass shooters and murder victims and things like that, but and actually helped the DA at sometimes, where the place where I used to practice. And the old war story I told, I was in court in Winston-Salem when Johnny Cochran came for the OJ case, so I got the brush with that big case, and on and on. Because when you've been around as many years as I have, you just run into all this stuff. And these guys should be back in a minute. Sorry for the war storying. And I'm trying to hit these comments about what Viva and these guys have said. So he may pop in. I don't know if he'll have time to do it or not. And if he does, I'll be glad to hear what he has to say on it in particular, because he's well able to give a short version of a complicated situation in a way that people can understand. That's one of the great things that he does do, talking about Viva. So that'd be interesting, or interested to hear what he has to say on it. And I may go back and watch some of what they do, but sadly, I'll probably end up looking up some of the documents, because I always try to do that, especially if I want a firm opinion on some kind of legal thing that happened. Is certainly you can't go to a media story and read this happened and believe it, because they often miss it. And I'm not even saying that's on purpose all the time, although a lot of times I think it is. Some of it's really complicated, and you can have a narrow issue or something like that. It just wasn't appreciated. So really the only way to know is to go read it yourself. Now, on the other hand, if I see Viva or Barnes telling me this legal thing happened, if I find a good succinct stream that those guys did, then I would put a lot of weight on that. Yeah, so this, and I think you made this comment earlier, and I didn't catch it the first time on the screen, but here's the comment that says the state doesn't want them to argue entrapment because the first federal trial ended with no convictions. Yeah, I mean, entrapment's a pretty good defense if you can either show it, or maybe it lets you put in enough evidence that the jury is like, I can't think these guys are, even if the jury doesn't necessarily agree with entrapment, it could also just cause the jury to think, I don't think these guys were guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, which is the government's burden to prove. So the more on the defense side you can put up there, the better for you, right? So again, this case is, I know this about it. It's two brothers and another guy, and they are charged with aiding in a terrorist act by another and having a gun while they're doing it. That's the charges. It's a little vague. I need to know more about that too. I mean, obviously it's kind of a aiding and abetting type of thing, but I don't know the particular elements of it. I only caught a bit of the opening statement. I want to go back and hear those too, because then you hear the state's view of how the case is and the defense's view of how the case is and what they're all going to do. And that's a good synopsis for what they'll be doing through this trial. Although this guy's been on the stand since I started listening to this case this morning. And, you know, when I was listening, I was just listening to it, not watching it. I was hearing some of these recorded conversations and things like that. And what does it all really mean? Not really a big thing here in Scotland. Well, if you're talking about this case in particular, it's kind of died in the news a little bit. It was big in the news when it was politically useful to be in the news. And I don't think it's, obviously it's not as well covered trial. And there are bigger things happening now in the news with all the recent types of indictments going on with Trump and stuff like that, are swallowing up a lot of bandwidth, both on people being mad about it or glad about it, depending on which side you're on. And then if you're a lawyer and you're looking at it in particular, everybody wants to think, you know, that it's an easy concept because that's fun if it's easy, but it just isn't. The 14th Amendment application to Trump's candidacy, how that's going to be viewed out of North Carolina. We had a challenge to somebody running for Congress here under that same clause, and the district court said, no, you can't challenge him that way. And then the Fourth Circuit said, yes, you can. That doesn't mean that applies to the president. So you got that side of it. Then you got the potential removal to federal court, the Hatch Act that Meadows is facing as an obstacle in his effort to get it removed. If he does win, whether the judge will carry all the defendants in. If he doesn't win, will the other defendants like Trump then make their own motion to remove, get it into federal court, and then try and attempt the defense of federal immunity? There's a lot of complicated issues in that, a lot. Regardless of the political motivations of everybody involved, once you activate the legal system, it gets pretty complicated. Defense opening statement was awful. He put me to sleep. Okay, so I'll try to watch his second tonight then, after I've listened to everything else, so I can go to sleep, because I stayed up a little later than I wanted to last night listening to Joe. And so I'm running behind today. MLS Law Show streamed the opening this morning. Very interesting. And of course that makes sense. So I'll try and check on that too and see what was up. I caught a little bit of the prosecution opening before I started this stream, and I just didn't get enough of it to know. I mean, I knew what they were going to say about these guys in terms of these guys did these crimes, but I wasn't able to hear enough of it to say, here's how we say they did these crimes. Well, I'm going to say. There's Vivas, forgot he has to pick up the kids. That's far better than forgetting to have to pick them up. So getting them is the important part, and not having to remember later that you should have, and far more important than this stream. Because, you know, it takes a lot of time and effort to get new kids, doesn't it? If you've invested all that time and effort to get the kids to this level, you definitely don't want to just leave them somewhere. You need to go pick them up, because it's just a lot. That's a lot to create new kids and stuff. You don't want to do that. So I'm glad that Viva is doing the right thing, going to get his children and safely have them back into his custody. You forget twice, the first and the last time. Yeah, exactly. So again, I'll be doing my research, because like I say, a lot of people in comments, I think, know more about this case than I do. And that's okay. I don't mind that. I like reading the comments and learning about it. You can count me as generally skeptical of the government these days, which in theory you should be, right? The whole Bill of Rights was passed because people were supposed to be skeptical of the government, and not the new wave. The Bill of Rights is there to give the government more power. I mean, that's the opposite of what it's for. Now, that doesn't mean that I think the government's always wrong, has no role, or that it's okay to do whatever you want to the government because it is terrible, which I think it is. So I can't say conclusively what I think in this case, just because I don't have enough information personally, but I am well aware of a lot of opinions on it, that people who have looked at it a lot think that this was basically the government ramping these guys into this and then charging them with this, and that it was really a political thing. I think that is the opinion many people have. And I'm told again that the defense opening statement is terrible. That's interesting, because this dude's been pretty active lately, especially going into lunch and coming out of it. With these objections to this witness, and bordering on the edge of a mistrial, kind of. They discussed that as they came back from lunch, and now they're arguing about it because of this cool device that they say the defendants bought that can let them know when the radios are transmitting and cameras are watching. And hello to Chandler, who has entered the chat there. I hope you're doing well. So if you watch Chandler's stuff, she's got this cool new background that she uses now for her streams when she's on camera. But she used to have kind of a plywood thing behind her, which I thought was really cool. Like she was at a CIA safe house. So I was a fan of that background, although the new one is nice too. I thought it looked really cool. About kids. This is somebody else talking. I just took the first 2 that had their shoes on. I dropped 2 off and picked 2 up. That's good. You keep them spread out. They're never all in one place. So you can only lose so many at one time like that. All right. So that's good risk management for children to keep them away from any common calamity. And I'm just talking because this thing is still in recess. And without a lot of, I was scared of this.
I mean, obviously, really what the request is can you go back and recreate your internet search from August of 2020? We don't profess that this is a recreation. We have found the device on the internet, supplied that to council.
How much is it?
That information has been provided.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Oh,
I haven't actually given it.
I thought you did. I'm
I didn't
sorry.
know what to do with it.
I didn't think you were. I thought you would be the one doing it.
Can't have the computer,
Like you're in
but
control of the facility.
This is Amazon.
Well, I found 6. Okay.
The judge needs to throw that link out with the discount code. Who wouldn't want this device?
This is the Amazon that I recall. Yes.
This is
Now he's got, after making all this hubbub, even if he's not interested in this, he has to look at it carefully.
I think what the agent said was that that's not the exact one. Not able to go back and get his internet search history from the time he got his hands on storefront and wanted to. Is that correct?
Correct, but this is actually the unit.
Oh, that's.
And I did locate the exact unit from the box. And this is the spec sheet and cut sheet from Amazon that I found. I can't tell you if it's the exact one from 3
Wonder
years
if they
ago,
left a review.
But I
That would be
recall
cool.
seeing this unit, this box, and it was the same one we ultimately found in the house.
Anyone? There's enough. If you want to leave that. The box for the RF device still resides at my client's home. They have the wrong box. So I want everyone to know that. You can bring that up. Bring it on the table here to show everybody. We're not hiding anything in this case, but that is not the right one. It has a GPS unit attached to it as well. I believe, just as an officer of the court, our device would have RF. It would have spy camera, which is not an infrared. It's some kind of lens thing. It's, it's $50. It doesn't work. It's a toy, but that's what it says. And it doesn't have GPS. It doesn't have infrared. This informs the jury again today, twice within a short.
If I may, this does not have GPS. This is to detect GPS on your car.
Okay,
So this unit here does not have GPS.
I apologize. It says it detects GPS. Maybe, I'm trying to catch up here too. We're planning from behind catching up, but we have a box. We're set to bringing it in. They didn't take the right box. So they have evidence that it's not attached to this. And I found 6 different KA teams on the internet, and you can't, to look at one of them, the odds are 1 in 6, you're right. Maybe he's right on, I hope he is, but there's no infrared. That's been told to the jury. There's a hidden camera device, there's no monitoring numbers, that he's being open and honest about this. And it has RF capabilities.
Before you can return the laptop, you can see go ahead, Sean.
Thank you. That's, it's just, I want to have a straight statement to the jury, fair trial. And I apologize, Mr. Olson's mentioned on the just, can we stop this misinformation before we have to stop the problem. I just don't think that's fair.
Mr. Mills, do you have anything else? to do?
No, thank you.
Mr. Satterwhite?
No, thank you, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Olson, anything else? to do?
No, thank you, Judge.
Okay. So I think where we left off was that proposed exhibit 135, this photograph fairly inaccurately represents the device that was located. Is that correct, Agent?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The agent has also testified as to reviewing inspection for that device, testifying to its functions. That's where the objections occurred. Any further objections to note on the record, Mr. Menzies?
I'm sorry, did he take the specs off the picture, off the device or off of the box that the device was presumptively in? I'm really
The
confused.
spec sheet, if I understood the testimony correctly, the spec sheet came from the Amazon page for the device, which he looked up after it was discovered. The box was located in Mr. Molitor's house.
You can always
Okay.
trust Amazon spec sheet.
I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure I'm right.
Yeah, let me restate that to make sure I get it right. So initially, when I heard of the RF detector, I performed a search. I saw it on Amazon. I had CHS Dan identify it.
Which one?
I
You have CHS Dan identify which device you need?
had him identify the Amazon device that I just showed.
Okay.
And he positively identified that as resembling the one he saw in Eric Molitor's house.
Resembling.
And then that's the one that I thought it was. And then following the execution of the search warrant in October, we located a device and we took pictures of a box of a device in the house. And the box that we found in the house and the device that we found were the same ones that Dan had positively identified.
Is the one that you found in the
That guy
house?
has a ring on his middle finger. Isn't that unusual?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Menzies, anything else?
I think you asked the question, so the one that Dan identified was the one in exhibit 135.
If I understood the testimony, it matched the model that he saw.
Okay. Thank you.
That's correct, yes. We didn't have this yet when Dan had positively identified it. It matched it, and then later we found it. This is the evidence photo.
Okay, thank you for the clarification, I appreciate it.
Mr. Sadler, anything else?
No, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Barnes?
Yes, I would point out to the court, it does not have infrared capabilities as was previously testified about. It has GPS and RF. This thing didn't have GPS. It had a hidden camera and an RF. And whatever the hidden camera means, it's not going to be anything with the GPS, it's not going to be that. It's certainly not an infrared. So they're putting in something again that's not accurate. So we just checked today, if they're coming in, we'd ask that we put a call on this.
It slices and dices.
Well, there's two components to this. The first is just the photograph of the device in proposed exhibit 135, fairly inaccurately depict the one that was found when the search warrant was executed. So that's one part. The second part of this doesn't deal with 135 or proposed exhibit 135. It deals with the testimony of the agent as to the capabilities which he learned by reading inspection. So let's deal with those two things separately. In terms of the photograph being admitted,
Just so I'm clear with this, and please forgive me, thank you for your patience. Because this is a device that was purportedly used, okay? Is this the same device that was purportedly used, or is this something that was recovered at a different time? And now Dan, is Dan saying that this was the device that was used in the capacity, I think, as the agent had testified before?
Some strong pin flipping by the
Is
judge.
it the same device that Dan is saying that was used? Or did they just pull pictures of devices, just seeing what they were capable of doing?
So we learned of one RF detector, but I didn't know which device it was. And then when we executed the search warrant, we found one RF detector.
So if I understand the testimony, it may not be the same device. So I would then argue that it can't be admitted.
But the testimony was, as I understood it, that what the agent did was so CHS Dan, that's how you learn that there is an RF device, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then you showed him, was it different models, and he picked one out, or how did that?
I selected different photographs and I showed him the different models and I asked him to identify which one it was, which he did.
It ended up matching this one.
That's correct.
Governor, may I make a suggestion? I understand that CHS Dan is testifying.
Sure.
You know, holding that into abeyance, is Dan going to testify that the Exhibit 134 is the same device that was used in the detection of whatever was used to detect? I said, we don't have that information right now.
Well, what's been testified to so far is seeking to admit proposed Exhibit 135, because that was the device that was found in Mr. Mahler's house, is the way I understand the testimony. And then secondly, along with that, is the testimony of the agent that is sought are the capabilities of that device, especially as to the radio frequency.
One last question. Were any other devices found in this house similar to that?
Any other like RF style devices? No.
No more questions, thank you.
Mr. Secretary?
Very briefly, Agent, did you see the box at Mr. Mollenberg's house?
I saw a photograph of the box.
Did you see the box at his house?
I wasn't at his house.
Judge, we'd say that the box which they have is the best evidence, as I've given over to Mr. Barnett. The box is the best evidence, Judge, not his testimony, not anybody else's testimony, the item and the box. We have the box.
These defense lawyers are
Okay,
doing
is
a
there
good job of
something
tag
about the box
teaming each
or
other on
lesion
objections.
box that's called into question?
Yes, Judge. The specs of the item. Mr. Barnett brought in multiple objections to the specs of the item. The box has the specs on it. The box is the best evidence, and we have the box.
Correct, but best evidence will only apply when there's a challenge to the, if there's a photograph of an item, and let's say it's a photograph of the writing, and the writing is somehow challenged or the contents thereof.
It absolutely is, Judge.
What
This,
about, Mr. Sutter,
yes, sir.
what about the information on the box has been challenged?
The information on the box that has been challenged is GPS. This agent has said this isn't the identical search, but this is the similar item, and he's testified that it's GPS. Mr. Barnett has said, no, it's not GPS. The box is the best evidence since we have it. There's not an IR detector on it. Is according to Mr. Barnett.
Multiple times. So, Mr. Barnett, anything else?
Just that the IR has been misidentified or testified about. And
I think the judge wants to let this in, which is interesting.
It's supposed to detect.
He wants to move on from this.
From our side, and it's an RF device.
Mr. Walton, are you going to seek admission of people's proposals to 135?
Yes, please.
Let's talk about any other objections other than what we've done.
No, thank you.
Mr. Sutter?
Just for standing detection.
And Mrs. Barnett?
Just in capabilities, for sure. My client is going to testify and probably identify this item. Square with everybody that he would, and probably identify this as his and also explain what it does. And we will bring a box, and they can send a policeman to be his mom, if we could call it. They can just get the box today, because we're probably tampering. We've got a box, and match the picture, and it will say, they can say anything for that, which is my whole point. I'm sorry, that was all.
Well, let's not kick a horse more than he's going around about 30 feet back. So as to the photograph, which is People's Proposed Exhibit 135, the court will admit that exhibit. There's testimony that that is the device that was found, and that is the basis for that photograph being admitted fairly accurately to fix that device. In terms of testimony relative to the capabilities, the court will allow it in terms of the RF function only. That should address any of the concerns that we've had today, and the testimony will be good for that.
Understood.
Okay, Mr. Nunzi, anything else?
No, thank you.
Mr. Sacks?
No, thank you.
Mr. Warren?
Oh, Your Honor, thank you very much.
Okay, all rise for the jury.
That's that. The judge is going to let that in and tell him to quit talking about all the Bluetooth and spotlight and radio and streaming capabilities of this awesome device on Amazon for $50 that we don't have a link to. And just point out the fact that it detects radio frequencies. That's all they want you to know about this awesome thing.
Yep. Be 2 minutes. Thank you.
So that was a good time for a sidebar.
The time is set, Senate record.
Yeah,
There's some tall windows behind the judge there. Could have shaved a couple bucks off the window budget and bought a witness stand. It's just kind of strange the way that courtroom is laid out to me a little bit. Maybe because there's so many parties, I don't know. Having the agent at the kiddie table while he's testifying. And he's the only witness that I know about, so I don't know if they're all go to that little table or what.
Mr. Austin, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Judge. Mr. Impla, when we left off, I think we were talking about proposed Exhibit 135. Are you familiar with that?
I am.
And can you tell us what that is?
Yes. So this is a radio frequency device that was found at Eric Molitor's house following execution of the search warrants on October 7th, 2020.
Okay, and what does it do?
It detects radio frequency transmissions.
Okay, when you, in terms of your live monitoring of the daytime surveillance, did you hear discussion about this?
I did.
Okay, and tell me, if you will, if that alerted you in any way to potential, safety issues with either the undercover agents or CHS Dan.
Yes, it did.
Tell us about that.
It caused me concern that my ability to monitor live transmissions at trainings could be compromised because this device could be used to detect the transmitting devices on undercovers and sources.
Okay, move for admission of 135, please.
Subject to the other discussions we had, anything else?
Nothing further, thank you, Judge. Can we just stand on our objection?
All right.
No objection.
Okay, 135 will be admitted subject. Objections.
Thank you.
Oh, there it is. There's a picture of it.
Agent Impla, what is the long extension from the top of the device do that's in a horseshoe shape?
That's a wand that detects radio frequency transmissions.
Okay.
I'm gonna check there aren't further, unless there's a foundation here behind it, something like on.
Thank you, Judge. Agent, I'd like to draw your attention now to proposed exhibit number 136. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what that is?
So this is an audio exhibit. It's an audio clip from the car ride on surveillance with CHS Dan, Adam Fox,
It's
and
a good
Eric
question.
Molitor.
I don't know yet
And it is
what they're trying to say about this awesome
as
device.
they're
that they're
identifying, as they're just prior to identifying the governor's residence on Birch Lake.
I'm going to move for, is there an associated transcript marked 136T?
There is.
And is that transcript accurate as to the audio?
Yes, it is.
Move for admission of proposed exhibits 136 and 136T.
Let's hear some
please,
more
Judge.
highly incriminating
Please stand on our objection.
Mr. Barnett,
voice messages.
Objection.
both will be.
I've been trying to catch up on the first 3 days by watching everything at like 1.75, just fast enough so I can actually hear.
Whitmer, she's about 49 years old. Is that address?
Just the dates are critical on everything here. August 29th.
6815 Timberlake Drive, Elkhart.
Agent Impla, is that in fact the address where Governor Whitmer had her cabin?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me if you're familiar with proposed exhibit 137.
I am.
And what is that?
That is an audio recording of the car ride, the surveillance when Eric Molitor, CHS Dan, and Adam Fox see her house for the first time and positively identify it as her residence.
And is there an associated transcript with that marked 137T?
Yes,
Does that transcript accurately reflect the audio?
yes.
Move for admission of 137 and 137T, please, Judge.
Mr. Sack,
Please stand under an objection.
Mr. Barnett.
Did they specify how they got her address for the cabin?
Characterization is the first time you're about to hear.
I haven't heard it. I started listening to this case this morning, so I'm coming from behind
Thank
the
you.
bell curve on this for sure.
All right. There's a lot to catch up to on the bell curve here. I'm just refreshing my memory as to when the FBI informants got involved.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's fucking it. That's it. No question. That's it. To a fucking team. I got it. They're all in the back. That's the same fucking area. That's it.
We do have an objection off to hearing the voices, says not Eric speaking, that is Dan. Every time it says one, on my client, and not say anything between, that's it, that's it, that's it. Voice is much lower. Mistake made on the transcript, and sorry to see the survey, but it is. You can open back up for 1 year, or you agree to change something.
Well, the agent has testified previously as to how he reached those determinations. If you believe there are errors, you can point that out in cross-examination. Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Judge. Let's turn to 138 if we could. Familiar with that item?
Yes.
And what is proposed exhibit 138?
This is a photograph from Adam Fox's phone, which is also posted or sent to CHS Dan, but it's a photograph from Adam Fox in the passenger seat, looking across CHS Dan towards the governor's residence.
Okay, and move for admission of 138, please.
Mr. Sack.
Please stand under an objection.
Mr. Barnett.
No objection.
138.
What are we seeing there for the record, Agent Employ?
So this blue cabin cottage here, this is the governor's residence. And the car here is headed south on Timberlake Drive.
And who do we see there, the gentleman in the left-hand portion of the picture?
This is CHS Dan who's driving his truck.
Okay. And this is on August 29th, 2020. What date is this, Agent Employ?
This is the date of the daytime surveillance, August 29th, 2020.
Okay. The driveway to the governor's, put that back up just for a second there, if you would, Adam, thank you. The driveway there to the governor's cottage, how close are they to it?
My estimation is about 50 feet from the road here to the front of the cabin.
Okay. If you can, proposed exhibit 140, can you tell us what that is?
Yes, so this is another audio clip. And this is the car with CHS Dan, Adam Fox, and Eric Molitor. And this is as they're driving up and down
I
Timberlake
haven't heard
Drive.
anything about the No
Okay.
Brothers yet.
Does it have
So
an
far
accompanying transcript marked 140T?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and by the way, you said you've listened to the 150 plus hours of audio in this case, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And can you distinguish between Dan's voice and Mr. Molitor's?
The confidential human source.
Mr. Barnett suggested
Dan.
a few minutes ago that that was Dan speaking in exhibit number 133. Was that Dan or Mr. Molitor?
Well, I did the best I could on the single syllable kind of grunts or O's. I thought it was Eric Molitor.
Okay. And on 140, same thing. What's your level of certainty as to the attributions to Mr. Molitor in that transcript?
I'm confident that what we have on 140 as Eric Molitor is what he said.
And does the 140T, the transcript, match the audio?
Yes, sir.
Move for admission on 140 and 140T, please.
If he's got to go through that whole book, he's going to be on the stand for, well, it's not really a stand, but he's going to be testifying for quite a long time.
Incorrectly said 133, I think he meant 137 when he was addressing patient info alcohol, the voice issues, and the issues exhibit it was, just for the record. 137 is page 1.
I'm curious. I'm trying to find out how they got the address for Whitmer's cottage.
Yeah.
The objection to the admissibility of 140 and 140.
But bear in mind, like the FBI had already been involved in this since the protest in Michigan,
Audio, as well as the
outside the Capitol.
with it, so they both can be-
Thank you.
Yeah, this is the state's witness, yes.
Yeah, see, go back down this
Yeah, but,
yeah, maybe. There's been a lot of saying, I'm up there, I'll pull out my position and then put their
I'll let it look up,
And can you read into the record the last sentence Mr. Molitor says there?
Yes. Eric Molitor said, yeah, you don't know what risk is.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'd like to reflect on what's the sentence after that, and something like it was interrupted, but that wasn't the last sentence. Once Mr. Monitor's sentence, whether it was interrupted or not, there was another sentence that played, it's not on the transcript.
Okay, so reflected. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Judge. Going to, if you would please, proposed exhibit 142. Can you tell us what that is?
Yes, so 142, so this is the fifth audio recording from the daytime surveillance on the August 29th. And this is also Eric Molitor, Adam Fox, and CHS Dan. And they're, at this point in time, they've pulled into the parking lot at the Oasis Red Bull Tavern, and they're getting out of the vehicle, and Eric Molitor and CHS Dan are benching their weapons.
Is there an associated transcript marked 142T?
Yes,
Does that transcript accurately reflect the audio?
yes.
Move for admission of 142 and 142T, please.
Mr. Manager? Mr. Sack?
It's staying in our written objections.
Mr. Warner?
What years to timeline and context?
Well, I think the timelines from when they pulled into the establishment.
Context, please.
I don't know what that means. What do you mean?
I just have one question relative to the context of this discussion before this, Your Honor.
So I think these are the last defendants to face trial in this whole thing,
Is
right?
this,
Yeah.
is this
Yeah.
a little segment here, is that after they talked about bringing weapons into the bar or not?
All were found guilty or pleaded except two, Harris and Caserta.
Weapons were in. Is that this discussion period?
So I recall the discussion you were talking about CPLs, and I just don't recall if they had that discussion right after they benched their weapons or right before it. But it certainly right around the vicinity, the benching of the weapons was a topic as they discussed whether they could carry in a bar. Correct.
142 and 142 would be.
How much you got? Just one. Only one up there. Do you use the other?
A couple of questions. The last statement Mr. Molitor makes here is, and for the record, that was when I still believed in doing things the right way, correct?
Correct.
And this discussion, I think you indicated is, what are they talking about? What are they doing?
Getting his
Talking
concealed
about,
carry.
his
Yeah, it's-
CPL and
has
where,
this
when and
probative
where
of
he
the
carried
case.
firearms.
Okay.
So he went about
This
it
is
lawfully.
after they drove by the governor's house, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and the discussion is Mr. Molitor benching his firearm.
Correct.
Okay.
So the CPL is, for those who don't know, concealed pistol
I'd
application.
like to draw your attention to proposed exhibit 160. Can you tell us what
Concealed
that
pistol
is?
license. So this militiaman, this member who's going to go commit a crime, is getting his license for a CPL. Full disclosure.
Yes.
I started off
So
believing
this is
and then learned
another audio clip. This is the
a lot of
sixth
stuff
audio
about it.
clip on the surveillance ride between Adam Fox, Eric Molitor, and CHS Dan.
What is the general discussion going on?
This is a discussion about first responders, the location of police departments.
Is there an associated transcript marked 160T that's associated with this audio?
Yes,
And is it accurate as to the audio in proposed exhibit 160?
yes.
Move for admission on 160 and 160T, please, Judge.
Coleman Nation says, notice it's the FBI or confidential human source who is fetching for their weapon. Interesting. And by the way, full disclosure, I believe this was entrapment as well, although these guys certainly stepped in it. So I'm going to start with having to be convinced that this is a legitimate crime that they would have committed on their own but for the FBI.
Was Dan one of the ones that got a bunch of money from the FBI too?
Well, no, Dan, I think is the one. Oh, yeah, I think he got paid.
Yeah.
But one of the informants was actually offering money to the defendants.
So this
Finding
is,
stuff.
let's see, the time that I have noted here is 3:41. So just after number 11 on the daytime surveillance timeline, which is after they depart from the tavern and then before they get to the house for the second surveillance.
Okay, so this is happening after the tavern,
Yes,
after Adam already wrote on a map that says the PD is 5 miles away. And the tavern,
yes. That occurred on item 11, and this clip is right after item 11.
so, okay, thank you.
Any objection to the admission?
No.
Both 160 and 162 would be.
Hello to Judy. She ready for the channel.
First responders, period. All our first responders. Ideally, it's you know, questions to find in there, obviously, that was fucking right.
So things you look at the demographic in the area, how many police they have out at all times, because like even in Grand Rapids, my was just an instructor, he was a police officer, and he said even in Grand Rapids, he was like, they'd have one cop out at certain times. Yeah. So that's fucking crazy, but that gives opportunity.
And again, for the record, the last thing Mr. Mauder says is, say that's fucking crazy, but that gives opportunity, correct?
That's correct.
I'd like you to turn to proposed exhibit 149, please, and tell us what that is.
Should we keep the number again?
149.
Thank you.
He should have a coloring book with that little table.
Yeah, so 149, so this is now the 7th audio clip from the daytime surveillance with Eric Molitor, CHS Dan, and Adam Fox. And this is now after they've left the Red Bull Tavern, so after item 11 on the daytime surveillance timeline. And as they're going to be going by the governor's residence again.
So if I'm correct, Agent Imply, or strike that. Did they drive down Timberlake before lunch?
Yes,
Okay. And did they drive down Timberlake after lunch?
yes,
Which of the two of these is it?
it's after lunch.
Okay. And the content of the audio, can you generally describe it, please?
Yes, this is when Adam Fox,
Judge, the audio will be the best evidence.
And laying the foundation for relevancy, Judge.
There are some foundational aspects that have to be described by the witness, which is why it was asked to do so in a general sense. Certainly the audio file, the discussion of the opinion on the best evidence.
It's amazing, actually.
On it.
Whitmer's place was already undergoing security, a $1.1 million security upgrade that was planned. in
so
2019.
this is a request from Adam Fox for Eric Molitor to do a slow-mo video of the governor's residence as they drive past.
Using whose phone?
Adam Fox's phone.
Okay. And is there an associated transcript marked 149T that is part of this audio clip?
Yes,
Does it accurately reflect what was said?
yes.
Move for admission of 149 and 149T, please.
Mr. Sapp?
Okay, the increased protection was around her residence, not this cabin, this cottage.
The other exhibit that he got was another picture or a video of Dan, sorry, Adam's fault. It was a video clip or a picture.
It is interesting.
We
then
haven't
how
got-
did they find out about this cottage?
Yeah.
That's-
I'd like to know that.
Oh,
just how
oh,
they got
picture.
the address.
Was that a picture? Was that-
Yeah, Dan's face, that was a picture.
Because to prove that, to get past the entrapment defense,
Yes,
they're going to
Your
have to
Honor.
prove that they got this information on their own. If an FBI agent gave them the address, I mean, or a CHS, I should say, it'd be interesting.
So when Adam Fox takes pictures with his phone, he's got his picture settings to be what you call a live photo. So it takes 3 seconds of the photo. So when you pull up the photo, it looks like this, but it kind of moves a little bit. It's called a live photo. That's what this was.
Okay, so if you're driving by, it moves.
It moves like 1 second before and 1 second after the photo that's depicted.
Okay, but that was the stop action and then presumably.
That guy has a ring on each middle
I'm
finger.
sorry, I don't understand
I just
the
don't think I've seen that before. The
Yeah,
witness.
objection.
I don't know if that means anything or not, but
This exhibit coming in relative to the stall action.
One more time. Very keeping me safe, but. Use slow mo video real quick, put this up against that window over there, and then press that button, it was slow mo video of people right there.
It's just that new solo.
It's on slow right now, hit the button, and then it will start should record. That slow mo video as we go by.
Agent Impla, are you familiar with proposed exhibit 150?
What was the slow-mo about?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen on the jury what that is?
150 is the slow motion video that was taken at this time, which was recovered off Adam Fox's phone pursuant to a search warrant.
Okay.
What was the video of?
I'm going to move for admission of proposed exhibit 150, please.
Mr. Mender? Mr. Sapp?
It's in our written objections.
Mr. Brenner?
No, you're right. No objections. Sorry, Your Honor.
That's okay. 150 is
Agent Impla, familiar with proposed Exhibit 151?
Uh-oh, what just happened there?
It's a good question. I still see their logo up here.
This exhibit is over. Well, while you refresh that, did the live feed end? It's interesting. I mean, look, these guys, they're definitely up to no good at this point in time. The question is really only going to be who promoted or facilitated this entire plot. They're harping on the fact that apparently one of these guys, I forget who it was, but they met at the, or they picked up one of their recruits at the Michigan protest, which they want to liken to the Jan 6. But the FBI informants were already involved back in the Michigan, at the Capitol protest. So they have to get ahead of the timeline of the entrapment argument. They have to show that these guys devised this plan before the FBI got involved, which is why this guy was testifying to the effect that a lot of this correspondence was before he got involved in the case.
Well, they threw their stream over to their headquarters a second ago, so I think maybe they have lost their stream, at least temporarily.
Oh man, I was watching the catching up on this, and people can be dense when they want to be dense, but they're harping on these memes that these guys, the boogaloo. The boogaloo people, for those of you, I learned this in my interwebs red pilling. Boogaloo is like the internet term for revolution. So when people want to get around the term of civil war or revolution, they say boogaloo. Or, you know, the Electric Boogaloo, which is a song from the 70s. So that's it. I mean, it's interesting to watch. They're in day 4 now. Is this day 4 or day 5?
It's been going for a few days, and as somebody said, which it appears to be true, this is the only witness so far. He's got a giant book to go through.
Well, they got to get rid of, who was the other one there? The other FBI agent who was in charge of this, who just got arrested on the domestic abuse charges. FBI Whitmer domestic. This is the one who was when the case started falling apart after the. Gretchen Whitmer, no, FBI agent. Okay, ex-FBI agent. This is from the Detroit News. Richard Trask. That's right. Here, I'll share this link with you so you can, their last ex-FBI agent on the file had to be withdrawn for rather serious behavioral problems.
Oops.
Oh, I can send it to you in the private chat so you can bring it up. Oh, but you can't share 2 screens at one time. Hold on. Share screen. Is this going to work?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, try this. Okay, see what you got. No, I'm in the wrong window now. So it's interesting. The evidence. First of all, the one side of the story now before the other side gets to present its defense. It doesn't look good because it's not good. These guys look like people who either got duped into doing something really stupid or might have very well done it on their own. And they're getting convicted. It's a no-brainer. The defendants on behalf of whom they're accused or being charged of having aided and abetted already got found guilty. So they got an even bigger uphill battle to argue entrapment. But sorry, hold on. So I can scroll down here now. I control this. So here we go. Let me close that window. Yeah, the former FBI agent Richard Trask, the lead investigator in the Whitmer kidnapping case, pleaded no contest money to aggravated assault charges stemming from allegations he beat his wife in July after returning home from a swingers party. Dude, did you know this, Southern, or are you learning this all in real time?
I had heard a little bit about it. Not all these details, though.
By the way, this is for anybody who's thinking of swinging. It doesn't end well. Seeing your wife with another person. Not that I speak from any form of experience, by the way. I don't think that. Questionable lifestyle will lead to questionable lifestyle outcomes. But no, that's it. I'm watching. I'm trying to get through it, catch up on the first few days. But it's going to be an uphill battle to try to disprove what I believe was quite clearly. I'm going to cough. Hold on one second. FBI entrapment for a lot of these defendants. Probably unsavory characters, easily manipulable. But the video they showed the other guy, calling people the F word, the 6-letter F word, and saying how there's a lot of people who put stupid videos online, and then you do wonder if the FBI sees people who they think are vulnerable, easy to manipulate, easy to infiltrate, so they can. Timing was great with this. Whitmer's residence was undergoing $1.1 million in security upgrades because they had an incident earlier, scheduled in 2019. Whether or not they would leave this cabin, unprotected as well. How they got the address. Does anybody know how they got the address for the cabin?
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. From what I've seen on this Fox guy, he says a lot of inflammatory things. I don't know anything about him. But if he were actually wanting to do this, which is what it sounds like from what they've shown, then the FBI can help actualize this, because my recollection of this was they had the protest because people were reacting to a lot of things the governor was doing, destroying small businesses and laughing at civil rights violations. And these guys, I guess, got into the crosshairs there. And, if they were planning to do this, then it was right for the FBI to try to stop it. But the real question is, did the FBI help actualize this? Would it have occurred without the FBI? And I know there's a lot of skepticism on that. The money that flowed in from the government and the resources that the FBI used to go after these guys, the level of participation, did they make this happen?
Oh, well, I'd say stupid people saying stupid things online. Let's have a revolution, 1776, yada yada, and then they're like, oh, okay, well now we see people who, let's go do a little due diligence on who's making these posts. Are they not serious, but could they be made to be serious? Can we actually infiltrate for the purposes of making this go a whole hell of a lot faster and further than a couple of stupid memes on the interwebs? Oh, they call it a militia. I mean, the guy is talking like he wanted to recruit people for his army. I mean, it sounds outlandish on its face.
Oh yeah, well, it's certainly crazy. And if you're them, you want to make an example out of somebody. So helping it along will let you get these guys to a state where you can bust this conspiracy and show that it can happen, and show the authority of the state again, which, if it's legitimate, that's fine, but it's not if it's not. And certainly my experience here in North Carolina during the whole protocol era was that the government was not sensitive to civil rights, and including our local capital government. They didn't care about it. Didn't care what it did to your business, didn't care about anything. And many of them still don't, but the nation will see that since we're donating our former head of health stuff to the CDC. The new CDC director is out of North Carolina, so get ready for that. So right now I'm looking at their screen, and there's a guy who I'm sure doesn't know that he's being live streamed because he's putting his blazer on and
share it. Let's see, we might get something good in real time.
Let's see here. He's been walking around and.
Oh, now he's talking. He's talking.
Maybe he's somebody.
We'll do it live. Armrests. Oh man! And how many days is this trial scheduled?
Just go ahead and call me.
Who said that?
Okay.
This is their live stream.
Oh, good. You got to leave this on. This guy doesn't necessarily know that he's being recorded right now. Watch him say something.
Okay, Flint. This is the 1 minute first weather. All right, Dan, whenever you're ready.
He's wearing a red tie. Is this a shout out to Trump?
Well, what a beautiful day today. A nice start to our work week, enjoying lots of sunshine, although that is going to change. Tomorrow at this time, about 24 hours from now.
Turn him down a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Some rain and a few storms. Let's go to Bay City. Look there in Bay County along US 10.
Well, that's kind of weird, isn't it?
On this Monday evening.
Surely somebody there knows that they lost the stream.
We are done with the trial.
Across the area. Here's our satellite.
All right, you can. And I just got the text
very
notification
quiet.
that we're expecting a hurricane here in Florida.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think we should be good where we are, but okay. Well, so that's it. Now let's see if the interwebs. Am I still here? I'm still here. Let's see if they're going to get the aggregate knowledge. How did they get the? So, well, Dan, or who was it? Dan in the chat said one of the addresses was discoverable via Google or
Wikipedia.
Or Wikipedia. Sorry, yeah. And if that's the case, also like, oh my God. Anyhow, problem is vulnerable people who are angry. easily manipulated, even if they're on the verge. And then you go and you get them to go a thousand miles further than they would have ever gone on their own.
Well, I can say certainly here, people I knew at that period of time, there was a great deal of rage against the government. And, if you were surveilling enough communications of enough people, you're going to find some people who say something they shouldn't be saying. I wasn't a fan of it at that time. I'm not a fan of how they behave now. But, I guess the background that you and I have, we're a little more sensitive to what we say and where we say it. But, you hear a lot of things. Now, these guys may have taken it further than that. I just don't know all about this case. Driving by her house and talking about snatching her is going to hurt you in court.
Yeah, and then the question is, how did they get there? And there might be different levels of culpability for the various defendants, but it's certainly everything about it reeked of politically convenient and politically motivated and intelligence infiltrated. And then, oddly enough, pretty much the exact, say it's very similar to what occurred in January 6th afterwards, and the infiltration of the Oath Keepers and the other one there, Proud Boys.
Yeah, having an unlimited budget when you're in the federal government like that is certainly helpful when you want to get inside these groups. That this guy testifying, since we've been watching him and this morning listening to him, I haven't heard him say anything about the Null brothers. So there are 3 guys on trial here, and 2 of them I haven't heard any evidence against yet. So I assume he'll have something to say about them later on, because they haven't appeared in the testimony that I've been hearing.
Yeah, they're going to be at meetings talking about it, finding explosives, getting a helicopter, even if it's the agents proposing it. And then they'll have videos of training and drive-bys to scope out the location.
And here's some comments from people that, the FBI drove them to the property and they seem to be too stupid to have done it on their own. And those things can be true. Legally, entrapment can be a tough defense to make. But being able to raise the defense is really good if you're the defense, because even if you don't totally succeed there, you might cause the jury to think, well, these guys are not, they're not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So now they are back to the courtroom.
Yeah, so someone on Twitter saying there was a controversy about her cottage, but they didn't mention where it. I mean, they mentioned the area, but then whether or not, if indeed they go and pull up. What's the word I'm looking for? Land registry to find out who the names are. And that type of active attempt to track down the address certainly would be more culpable. Mm-hmm. If it's someone on Twitter says, if I recall correctly, the FBI that's like you can't have a IIRC for that. We have to have like a hard confirmation. And now that someone mentions it, actually, I'm just going to DM Julie Kelly and ask her if she knows offhand. Julie Kelly, by the way, has been covering this. I don't know if she's covering the trial right now. I suspect she has to be, but not necessarily live streaming it. Julie, hold on, let me DM her.
Yeah, because there's just so many big things happening right now. I haven't heard any reaction yet from anybody who was in the Meadows hearing today, or if that's even still going on down in Georgia for his evidentiary hearing for removal to federal court.
Oh, definitely. Well, I see, and Barnes is in court, or Barnes had a. Something just happened outside. A scheduling conference in his Brooke Jackson Pfizer case. So I'm not sure that he'll be following that. Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. It's inundation. Do you know how the defendants got Whitmer's cottage address? Okay, let's see if we can get an answer to that.
Well, you're checking that. I am. This guy is back, but
all right, let's do it.
I have no audio. I keep clicking it. I don't know if that's them.
Let me see here. I got it running. Oh no, I got you running. That's not going to help. Let me see here. Whitmer trial.
It's Up North Alive is who is streaming it.
Yeah, got it. 71 people watching on Up North Live. It's amazing. So now I've got no audio on them either.
Yeah, I think they've restored the stream, but not the audio.
Here, and it says it's going to be a fucking nightmare. It's going to be a fucking shootout. No doubt about it. Like no fucking question that it's going to be a fucking shootout. Oh, sir, we know that. We have multiple fucking forces to go against. The light is up here. The light is up here. Even location 3, we potentially have multiple forces to go against there. It might be initially easy, but then you might have to go against the fucking Coast Guard and fucking state police, and that's Fox. Now, and then the other question is, and I'm not saying this to be funny, was he high here? Because there was also the issue of one of the informants or one of the CHSs, I forget who it was, the FBI, getting him high and then recording a lot of the stupid shit that he would say while high off his ass. And again, not to make it, there's no justification for this. You know, when they say play stupid games, win stupid prizes, and these defendants certainly played a stupid game. Getting people intoxicated, if that's one of the cases where Fox was high, and then recording his high delusions, is certainly different than if he's of sound mind, to the extent that any of them could be described as being of sound mind in the first place. So there's no audio.
And with everybody standing, I'm thinking they're bringing the jury back. Maybe they had something going on there.
Oh, this could be, yeah. What do they call them? A sidebar, yeah. But no, they wouldn't have showed, they would have showed the text and just not hear it. Okay, let's see. Either that or there would be no more audio.
Yeah, I think they have screwed this up. That's what I think.
Well, isn't that convenient?
It's choose your own dialogue.
Oh, I was going to go live. I'm just so fucking tired, Steve. No, this is. Let's. I'll say what I think he's saying. I don't know. Okay, I won't do that. You see? Okay. No.
The box is the best evidence, Your Honor. That's what he was arguing before.
What was in the? What was in the box? What were they talking about with the box? I was in the car with that.
So allegedly, the one of the defendants had an RF detector, so something that could detect radio frequency transmissions. And then it was disputed what other capabilities it had, and apparently the FBI agent overstated that. But it was a cool thing that you could wave around and see if something was transmitting, so you could like maybe tell if somebody has a bug on them or something like that. And so that's why the FBI guy was like, well, I started being worried about our informants because maybe they could figure out that they were transmitting.
Yeah.
But I don't know how good it is. It's $50 off of Amazon, but I can say there are a lot of good radios that are cheap off of Amazon. And so maybe this is better than you would think it would be for $50. But an interesting item to have.
Okay, I might have to go somewhere in a bit. So they're just playing a video with no audio. And, oh, no, now everybody's left the room.
And maybe
dramatic pose on the clock.
I'm thinking the judges shut it down for a little bit, a break or something like that.
Well, it's 4 o'clock, and this is in Michigan, so they're on the same time zone. So this might be done for the day. Atomic time. What does that mean, atomic time? It's a freaking clock. This one behind me says atomic clock also. I don't know what that means. If it doesn't connect to the internet.
I would think it would need to, unless it has the potential to receive the time from GPS, because I think that is synced with atomic time.
What does?
And so maybe it derives from that.
Okay, what does atomic clock mean? An extremely accurate type of clock, which is regulated by vibrations of an atomic molecular system. Oh, so I guess it's in the clock itself. Okay.
Well, I don't think it's in that clock.
Dude, that could be the fanciest wall clock you've ever seen.
That's true. It could be they put all their courtroom budget money into that. So how old I am is I used to know the phone number that you could call and get the official time from the government. And then we also had a frequency that we could tune into on the radio to get time, because we had to sync up our times wherever we were in the world. And I think atomic clock is supposed to do something like that.
Steve, how old are you?
50-something.
Well, dude, I remember that as well. I remember we used to call the operator and ask her what time it was. I said her, I presume. We used to dial 0 and go, what time is it? Because back then, and they would tell you. Also back then, you could call the operator and ask for people's telephone numbers. Could you do that? Hold on, is that a real memory? Could you once upon a time, we had the white pages, but I think you could call up the operator and give them a name and they would give you the telephone number.
And maybe they would want to charge you a little bit of money or something, or if they were nice, they'd just do it. I think that's true, because it was public information, right? You were in the white pages, so they could do it. Yeah. I'm still fascinated. It's just if this is an Amazon level atomic clock or a Wish level atomic clock.
Okay, so I'm not going crazy. You could do it once upon a time. Huh.
Yeah, well, I think so. I think that's true.
Man, so how you started? Is this your first day streaming this, Steve?
Yeah. Eric tuned me into that. They were showing it, and I didn't realize that this had started. And I only knew about this situation from being skeptical of all of it back when, during the whole protocol era of our nation, when the government was telling us all what we could do at all times. So I know, and I now have to look it up again later, that we used to get on the radio or call this number, and it would say, at the sound of the tone, the time will be blah, 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 blah. And that's how we had to do it. Schrodinger's cat lives inside his clock, and that could be true as well. Evidence is neither admitted nor admitted until you look at the clock, and then you know that it is. It's an interstitial space.
Okay, so here, let's see. I'm just looking at the chat. So I texted Julie Kelly. Thanks, people. Well, most of them were FBI, so probably from the federal government. Yeah, okay, no, we need that. Tim Pool had someone on the Culture War podcast. Brendan Concerted. No. 1-800-FED-INFO. That's funny. Okay. Just reading some of the answers here on Twitter. Wasn't there okay, we got that one too. Maybe that's how no. The COVID controversy. Okay, so it seems like nobody has any useful answers. Not that they are useless. Some of them are good and funny. Because the man who set it all up worked for FBI with at least 5 to 6. Okay, I need a. We'll get that. That would be the crux of the evidence for me. Who discovered the cottage address? Who even suggested the cottage? I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, my office is being infiltrated. Get out of here. Or don't come in front. He's taking a stool.
I need it.
Okay, guaranteed something bad is happening. Okay.
We're making
You're not gonna remember. You're gonna forget what you're doing.
we're making muffins.
Okay, get out of here. Close the door. They're making muffins.
Awesome.
Up North Live. Okay, well, that's it. I might. So, are you going to be doing this tomorrow as well?
I think I probably will check it out. If I can get in here tonight and find out some real facts about this, because I'm just a pure observer at this point.
Well, dude, well, not that I have any useful stuff, because the stuff that we were covering it back when they had the first trial. A lot of the stuff might be either redundant or out. I don't think much of it's going to be outdated, because we were covering it. Barnes called it as what it was early, like before trial, back when it actually happened. But you get your convictions, and you'll get the 2 acquittals, and was it a mistrial, the first one, or how do they refer to it? It was a hung jury. They had the retrial, so it had to have been a hung jury. But no, yeah, good. But you should do it, because nobody's covering this. It looks like it's going to go on for a little while, and this might be the one to create a marketplace of interest for. How long is the Whitmer? Is it Fix or Fox now? We got Fix trial. This is from 7 days ago. After nearly 3 years, the trial of the 2020 kidnap plot is set for Wednesday. Okay.
Yep, that's when they started, I think.
Yeah. So let's see here. How long? What would it be under? Weeks would be away. They spent weeks, both testifying the coming weeks, and so we don't have that. Duration. Trying to find the easiest way not to have to read the entire article. Let me see. After nearly 3 years, the 2020 plot's coming is set for trial for Wednesday. Jury selection began. Molitor, Null, and 14. Okay, it started just ahead of the 20. Okay, that's the plot. Investigators say the men took plot. Fine. Of the 14 arrested, 9 have been convicted or taken plea deals. Ty Garbin. They took plea deals before the other 2 were acquitted. Prosecutors say Adam Fox told FBI informants they are willing. Oh, that's right. The other. They're willing to die for their families. That's evidence. They joined the plot on a night ride to the governor's property. That's interesting. Prosecutors say Molitor also did surveillance at Whitmer. Okay. Oh, the trial is expected to last 3 weeks.
Wow.
Dude, do it, Steve. You have kids in the house still?
No.
Do
They're
it.
gone.
Do it all day, every day. Oh. So that's it. 3 weeks. 3 weeks. They're going to spend. This guy alone is going to be a week in direct, and then they're going to cross him.
Yeah, I agree with that. This guy's got a huge book of exhibits to go through, and then you got to do the cross, and then you got to do redirect,
and then you got to have the. Well, I guess we'll see who they. I don't know who they announced for. If they've announced anybody for defense. Chandler Remington is in the house. Very nice. How's it going, Chandler Remington? Possibly the best internet name on the internet.
It is. It's very cool.
It's like Max Power It's the Max Power of the internet. That's Homer Simpson's name from. Now let's go back to Twitter and see if anybody had any more useful.
I feel like for that poor FBI guy sitting at that table, he should get a sippy cup or something. He's having to be there so long.
Oh man, yeah, they're willing to die. They play. They're willing to die for their family and messages. What else was I going to look up that would be a relevant fact in this case?
I don't personally think it was unreasonable during that period, because I don't know about there specifically, but like here, they were letting people burn downtown and stuff like that. And there was a real concern just where the government was going to go with all this, not only with their individual crackdowns on people, but then allowing certain groups just to go completely crazy and riot and attack people. And, here in Raleigh, they're like, oh, we're coming to the suburbs. We're going to leave the city and attack people, which they didn't do, which was good for them. It's not the same outside the city limits as it is inside of it. But a lot of things were said, I think, in that time frame due to what was going on in the country. And so they're catching these guys at the worst time. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't commit a crime, of course. That's what the government's going to try to show. And like you say, I think if they've got the primary guys already either convicted or pled guilty, and I think some of them are going to testify in this case against these guys, then it's looking bad for them.
Oh, no. They are getting convicted. It's just a no-brainer. Unless some of them have very scant evidence against them. But let me see. I got to save a draft here because Hakeem Jeffries just tweeted something that's unbearably stupid. I have to respond to that. Well, all right, man. Steve, I might drop out and go listen in the car. Oh, the usefulness of my knowledge of this, there was a wicked article in, hold on, let me get it here. Was it the Huffington Post? Here, I'll give you this. Huffington Post, Whitmer entrapment. When they were trying to normalize, no, it wasn't the Huffington Post. Whitmer entrapment, FBI agents. It was okay, not the Washington Post, the Intercept. This is it. I think this was it. Here, I'll give you this. This is a good one to read. How do I do this in here? Here. That might be the main chat, but whatever. Is this the one that I'm looking for? It was an article that basically said, like, how many is too many? How many is too many?
So this is March 9th, 2022. Let me copy that. And I'll pop it up here so other people can take a look at this, guys, for some background before this trial continues, if it ever continues.
I mean, what did they have? They had almost as many informants and agents as defendants.
And I think that's when it starts to, in the public mind, and in my mind, it starts to look a little shaky. Like, that shouldn't be true, right?
Yeah, and some of the informants were getting paid. I think one of the guys got paid like $60,000 a year. Was given credit card, a bunch of stuff. They were offering money to the defendants to buy weapons. That if recollection serves me properly, now they were declining. They said no, and how many times do they have to offer this? Then there was the whole incident of the FBI agents telling their informant or their confidential human source to lie to the others and to blame the accusation that one of them was an informant on another member of the plot purportedly. The FBI agent telling his confidential human source to delete text messages between the two of them.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole fucking thing. They might have framed guilty people, but
right. Yeah.
This is what the trial's for. Oh, the backup. Okay, you might have bought me for a little more time here.
So I just checked with the clerk's office. What I'm going to tell them, unless anyone has an objection, is just that for both the daily amount and the daily mileage, it's compiled and then paid for the trial. Anybody have an issue? No.
I think they're looking for a pay rate, the minimum wage, and also an average number.
No, that I don't know. Let's start with the basics.
That was weird.
What happened? I missed it.
I don't know.
That last article is it looks like a good one already. It's not the one I was thinking of from Reason. But basically, if someone tries to get you to do something stupid, they're probably a Fed.
Yeah, exactly.
Also,
just assume that, and you'll stay out of trouble.
Yep. Also, don't do stupid things. It's not hard. But like the whole there was the whole Islamic terrorism one where they the judge basically said this is like a made-for-TV movie on entrapment. You go find vulnerable people who turn you down multiple times, and you radicalize them on the basis of foiling plots that you yourself created. So that you can then say, look at the plot we foiled. We're useful, and these criminals are infiltrating everything.
All right, everyone can be seated. I will Chairman, before we go back to the presentation of the prosecution's case, I do want to address the note that we received, indicated, asked how to pay work. Just in a general sense, you receive a daily fee, and then also mileage. Both of those amounts are collected in full at the end of the trial and then paid in full once the trial is.
Oh, the jury wouldn't know how much we're getting paid. Yeah.
Everybody, Ralston, let me go back to you.
Thank you, Judge. May I proceed?
Yes.
Good. Agent Impla, before we broke, I think we were talking about our Exhibit 1 or number 159. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what number was that in the audio clips of the daytime surveillance?
159, that was the 11th audio clip of the daytime surveillance.
And these are in sequence in terms of chronological order?
Yes.
Okay, what is it followed by?
So it's followed by the 12th clip, which was 134, the one we discussed previously.
Okay. All right. If we can turn now to proposed exhibit number 141, can you tell us what that is?
141?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So 141 is a surveillance photograph, and this is CHS Dan, Eric Molitor, and Adam Fox at the Oasis Red Bull Tavern when they're after they've stopped for lunch, or excuse me, this one is shortly after they benched their weapons and we're going inside.
Okay. Move for admission of exhibit 141, please.
Mr. Nunzio?
No comment.
Mr. Sapp?
Good stand on a written objection.
Mr. Barnett?
No objection here.
141 will be admitted.
What do we see there, Agent Empla?
So on the left, this is CHS Dan, this is Eric Molitor, and this is Adam Fox.
Okay. And the back tailgate of the truck is open. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
When they benched their weapons, Adam Fox had some marijuana, and I believe he put it in the back here.
Okay. And where'd the weapons go?
At least one weapon went in the glove box up here. I'm not sure if Dan put his weapon in the back or in the glove box.
Okay. Proposed exhibit number 143. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
And what is that?
This is a photograph taken by CHS Dan at the Oasis Red Bull Tavern. It's a photograph of Adam Fox drawing a map.
And what is the map of?
The map is
Objection
of,
to speculation.
Sustained, perhaps some foundation.
Sure. Did you later come into possession of that map?
yes,
Tell us how.
following the training, or excuse me, following the surveillance, Adam Fox gave CHS Dan the map, and CHS Dan gave me the map, and I entered it into evidence.
Move for admission of 143, please.
Mr. Nunzio? Mr. Sapp?
Good stand on a written objection.
Mr. Barnett?
Who took the picture, if I may, Your Honor?
CHS Dan.
Okay.
Any objection to admission?
No, Your Honor.
143 will be admitted.
What do we see here, Agent Empla?
So this is Adam Fox on the right here, looking at his phone and drawing the map.
Okay. Familiar with proposed exhibit number 144?
Yes.
Those
What's
look
that?
like plastic
This
straws.
is a
How terrible.
photograph taken of the actual map that Adam Fox drew.
Move for admission of 144, please.
Mr. Nunzio? Mr. Sapp?
Good stand on a written objection.
Mr. Barnett?
I just to, I can't read this. We're going to read what's written in the bottom of the jury.
When you say bottom, I don't know what you're.
It says, Elk Rapids, PD, 3 miles away. Everything else, 20 plus miles. That's what it says.
Okay, do you have an
It's
objection?
explained to me that jury had no objection to this.
Okay, 144 will be admitted.
What do we see here, Agent Empla?
So on the left, this is a rough sketch of Birch Lake. Facing north is up here. Williams Road down here is south. And this is 31. And then on the right side, facing the other direction is handwritten notes. I don't know if it's possible to flip that exhibit around.
What do we see there?
So these are the notes. It says Elk Rapids PD. 2 miles, 2.5 minutes. Everything else, 20 plus miles out.
Okay. During the audio clips that we heard earlier, did Mr. Molitor mention discussion about local police departments?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Can you turn to proposed exhibit number 145, please?
I have it here.
What is that?
This is a surveillance photograph taken of Eric Molitor inside the Oasis Red Bull Tavern.
Okay. And move for admission on 145, please.
Foundation. Agent, who took the picture?
A member of our surveillance team.
You didn't take it, though.
That's correct.
So you don't know if it's in the same, if not substantially similar form that it was taken.
When we take pictures, there's meta.
You don't know.
Go ahead. Hey, no.
Yes or no?
Hang on, you can answer the question. Do you know whether or not it fairly and accurately depicts the scene?
Yes, it does fairly and accurately depict the scene.
How do you know? Did you take the picture?
I've been to the Oasis.
Did you take the picture?
I did not take this picture.
Judge, this evidence is not properly laid the foundation through this witness, because he has no personal knowledge of whether or not the picture has been taken at the Oasis, whether or not it has been altered, or if it is in the same, if not similar, substantially similar form that it was taken, or by who took it. Therefore, he is not the proper witness. Thank you.
Mr. Whitmer?
I agree with all that. I would just like to know who took the picture and wasn't fully answered.
Well, the kit wasn't required of the person who took the photo. It's the substance of the issue was whether or not it fairly and accurately depicts that.
Yeah, it's pretty
This is an
interesting.
Question, Mr. Walston, if there's additional foundation that you want to, questions that you want to ask, and then I'll go back to the attorney's to see if there's any questions.
Can we approach?
This guy's very familiar with the Fed Bull Tavern. I think the DA hates that these guys are objecting like this on this foundation stuff.
Can you like imagine that this is how justice is doled out? We're just going to get up and meet in the corner of the room.
It's pretty crazy. This courtroom is pretty crazy, though.
It looks a little, not to say that they should be like lavish and extravagant, because I'd be complaining about that too. There's a middle ground. This looks like they took a school classroom because they ran out of rooms, but maybe they did.
It's true. They could be in the middle of remodeling something, or I'd have to think any courtroom you build is going to have a witness stand in it, and not just some little table you took from the elementary school. So it is interesting. The judge lets the defense attorney stand up and start peppering questions at the witness. Did you take this picture? You don't know anything about the Fed Bull Tavern, do you? Instead of just objecting. So that's interesting. And I'm sure they're saying, hey, listen, confidential human source Dan needs to be the guy putting these pictures in if somebody's doing it, because he's the one who took the pictures. That's probably what they're saying.
For sure.
go back to
Sure, Judge. I think this really goes to weight versus admissibility. He's indicated there's a surveillance team inside. He's indicated who the subject is, the photo. I'd move for its admission.
Mr. Matthew.
No comment.
Mr. Sacks.
Judge, we just renew our foundation issues as well as we extend our written objections.
Great. Mr. Barnett.
No objection.
Hayden, where were you when this photo was taken?
I was on surveillance about a half mile away.
And who took the photograph?
A member of our surveillance team took the photograph. I don't know which agent it was. I believe we sent 2 agents in there to get eyes on.
Was there audio monitoring of this?
Yeah, so I was live monitoring inside I was live monitoring Dan while he was inside. I was listening to the activity going around with the patrons. And the
It's an amazing thing, actually.
surveillance team went in there to get visual confirmation of what was going on while I was live monitoring it.
They say, like, once the FBI's in, when do they have to call it off and say we've got enough to press charges? They get the FBI in and say, let's get a helicopter, let's get bombs, and then turn it from what would have otherwise been, I don't know, a plot to terrorism charges. And so you get to, like, push the ideas to make this go further than it would have ever gone, while attempting to foil it. Like, this is I'd actually like to ask Nate, the lawyer, this question, because, like, when you're secretly following, you're involved. Okay, they're far enough along the plot. Do you egg them on a little more?
Mm-hmm.
Have the FBI agents throw in a little more serious plot charges? I think I'm not sure Barnes was on with Don Jr. today. I think I missed it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And what's depicted in this photograph, the court is satisfied that in terms of admissibility, the requirements have been met. 145 will be admitted. In terms of the objections raised, they are noted for the record, and any such information will be taken as conveyed. Mr. Ralston.
Thank you, Judge. Adam, what do we see here, Agent Empla?
Let's see. What do we see here? I'm not looking. Oh,
This is
ketchup.
Saturday afternoon in Antrim
Enhance.
County at the Oasis Red Bull Tavern, and this is Eric Molitor right here over this unknown gentleman's shoulder.
Okay. If you can look at proposed Exhibit 146, tell us what that is.
A lot of fighting for that one picture.
So there's a
This
there's
is
a
another
guy at a
shot
restaurant
from our surveillance team inside, and it's got Adam Fox, Eric Molitor, and CHS Dan. Another picture inside the Oasis Red Bull Tavern from the daytime surveillance.
And what are those 3 gentlemen doing when the photo's taken?
making me want to have a Red Bull.
Yeah.
They're talking at a table.
This is
Okay.
just water.
And I'd move for admission of 146, please.
Okay, so they're in a restaurant. What's the pertinence of this?
Mr. Barnett.
To the characterization that they're talking at the table, this is actually the first time I've seen this.
Interesting.
Both the online and also the email where I was something else. With that said, I see it publicly in my mind. The only objective is characterization of talking. And we have no objection that's coming in, shows where people were seated.
And this was part of the discovery that was in the exhibits that were delivered on August 7th, Judge.
Exhibit 146 will be admitted. The objections, which I assume are the same for 145, are noted.
What do we see here?
So right here, where the laser's on, that's CHS Dan. Right over his left shoulder of CHS Dan is Eric Molitor. And on the right here is Adam Fox with his elbows on the table.
Okay. You can look to proposed exhibit number 147. Can you tell us what that is?
Yes, this is another surveillance photograph of Eric Molitor, CHS Dan, and Adam Fox leaving the Red Bull Tavern.
Okay. And generally describe what's going on.
The 3 individuals are walking out towards CHS Dan's truck.
Okay. Move for admission of proposed exhibit 147, please.
Mr. Lindsay? Mr. Sutton?
Please stand on the written objections.
Mr. Barnett?
No objection.
147 will be good.
Thank you. Agent, are you familiar with, well,
This is
1 minute, if
painful.
I may, Judge.
How hard can it be to make the?
I'm sad to learn the Red Bull Oasis is not even red.
Well, no, the Red Bull.
Exhibit 150
Red
that's already
Bull.
been entered. Describe what that is for us again.
That's the surveillance video in which Eric Muller took, in which it's the slow motion video where they go by the governor's residence.
Was that taken before or after their visit to the Red Bull Oasis Tavern?
So it's after they depart the tavern here, they go back to look at her place again.
Okay. Are you familiar with proposed exhibit 148?
Yes,
Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what that is.
Did he just presume?
this is a video taken by Adam Fox just before the video that Eric Muller took. And it's another video. However, that one did not capture the governor's residence.
Is this video taken, if you know, before or after the visit to the Oasis Red Bull Tavern?
It's after.
Okay, and proposed exhibit number 148.
Yes, it's after Oasis Red Bull Tavern.
Okay, and this video does not capture the governor's property, is that correct?
Correct.
Move for admission of proposed exhibit 148, please.
Judge, please stand on the written objections. If one out, that's not.
No objection.
148 will be good.
148, 148.
I will.
I apologize.
That's okay.
How is the noise? Let's get that area.
They're gonna. This is the smoking gun. They're gonna play this over and over again. We've seen that.
It missed the governor's property, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correction, I think that is taken by Mrs. Bowser, right? I think they indicated it was Adam Fox, but it's not directed to the left.
Another talking objection, Judge. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a pretty good speech he was making about that.
I'd like to draw your attention, please, to proposed exhibit number 153. Can you tell us what that is?
Sure. 153 is a photograph taken by CHS Dan, and it's at the boat launch, so the north side of Birch Lake, and it's Adam Fox looking south across Birch Lake towards the governor's residence.
Move for admission of 153.
In terms of the accuracy of the photo, Mr. Rossman, are there any additional questions?
Sure, Judge. Tell us, if you will, who took the photo.
CHS Dan took the photo. And
Okay.
then
I cannot
Go
hear
ahead.
anything but
he
Captain Dan.
provided it to me after I
Captain Dan.
debriefed with him and collected his recording device.
Okay. And did that photo go into evidence?
Yes,
Turned over to defense and discovery?
yes.
Okay. Move for admission of 153, please.
Mr. Nunzio? Mr. Sutton?
Judge, please stand on the written objections. And we'd also be one for putting lack of foundation.
Mr. Barnett?
Just a quick one here. This shows that, excuse me, Adam Fox and Adam Fox owned by the.
That's correct.
By the water.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson, any additional questions as to the accuracy of this?
No, thank you, Judge.
Okay. I see the attorney's fees.
It's just this guy looking over the lake, right?
Well, this is going nowhere fast, but
Yeah.
Steve, enjoy your torture. I'll continue listening from the car.
Sounds good, and thanks for dropping in.
My pleasure, man. I'll keep if you're doing it, let me know and I'll blast it out and I'll pop in when I can.
We'll do it.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Have some good muffins.
All right, thanks. Later.
Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Judge. Have you been to the boat launch there on the north end of Birch Lake?
Yes.
Okay, and is that an accurate depiction of it?
Yes.
I'll renew my motion, please, Judge.
Send objections, presented.
Review the foundational objections. This would be the lake I live on. This is the lake that anyone lives on. We don't know which lake it is, we don't know when it is, we don't know the time of day, we don't know any information. This individual did not take a picture of the proper witness.
Mr. Burnett.
This is taking quite some distance away from where the truck was, is that correct, sir? You could tell me how far that is, your estimation? The truck was parked, you know?
Yeah, no, I cannot tell you where the truck was parked.
Nothing else, fine.
Well, on the 49, based on the testimony provided, I gave you that is familiar with the area and his knowledge of this scene specifically, there has been sufficient foundation laid and will admit no fire.
So that picture made it in.
What are we looking at here, Agent Empla?
This is the boat launch on the north side of Birch Lake. And then this is due south, this direction. And then the governor's residence is over here on the west side of the lake.
Okay. Are you familiar, and who's the gentleman there in the picture, if you can tell us?
This is Adam Fox.
Okay. Proposed exhibit number 154. Can you tell us what that is, please?
This is another view from the boat launch. It's from the similar location. This time Adam Fox is standing up and he's using his hat to screen the sun as he looks across the lake.
You can see how this trial might take a couple of weeks.
Same question.
at
You've
this
been to the
pace.
boat launch?
I've been to the boat launch and this picture was also taken by CHS Dan and provided it as evidence following the surveillance.
Okay. Picture accurately depict that area.
Yes.
Move for admission of 154, please.
Mr. Jones.
So we stand on the foundation as well as our written objections pointing out that CHS Dan would be the proper witness.
Quick question, if I may?
Wider question.
Yes. Is this picture taken in close proximity to 153?
You're talking in time or in distance?
Distance, sorry.
Oh. It's a matter of feet.
Objection.
Well, as the court indicated previously, the foundation issues have been satisfied. Perhaps additional witnesses to provide more testimony, but in the court's mind, a proper foundation has been laid. 154 will be.
Thank you. Mr. Empla, if you can turn to proposed exhibit 155, please.
I have it here.
What is that?
This is a view from generally the same spot at the boat launch. So this is taken by CHS Dan, and it is a view looking west along the shoreline.
Was this taken at the same time as the last two exhibits? And when I say the same time, I mean within the same, certainly the same day, within the same time frame as the first two pictures?
It was, but sorry, I want to make a clarification. Dan did not take this photograph. I found this on Adam Fox's cell phone.
Okay, and this is proposed exhibit number 155, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And move for admission of proposed exhibit 155, please.
Mr. Lindsay? Mr. Sack?
Please stand on your written objections as well as the foundational issues.
Mr. Barnett?
Relevancy of this picture, where it's taken from. Could be. It doesn't show anything to be done.
Mr. Walton as to relevance for this particular photograph.
The next line of questioning to the witness is going to be about Mr. Fox's plan for how he was going to approach the governor's cabin during the attack.
The court will conditionally admit 155 subject to the additional testimony. Which is proper.
Please. Did Mr. Fox ever express an idea of how he was going and his team were going to approach the governor's property?
Mr. Walton?
How does that suggest the answer would be my question?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
No problem. Did Mr. Fox ever express any ideas about how he and his attack team would approach the governor's cabin?
Yes, they were gonna approach via water from this boat launch here, and they were gonna try to find boats that weren't marked that they could abandon. So they talked about stealing boats that were already available on the shoreline. And then this is a photograph that we found on Adam Fox's phone as he referenced these boats to CHS Dan from the boat launch.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I don't know about that being a good idea. I don't think so.
And that also addresses the court's question as to relevance. And so, again, 155.
Thank you, Judge. I'd like to draw your attention, if I could, please, to proposed exhibit number 156. Are you familiar with that?
I am.
What is that?
This is a screenshot, which was found on Adam Fox's phone. And the screenshot is a pin drop at the boat launch. And the screenshot includes the Birch Lake area and 31, Highway 31.
I move for admission of proposed exhibit number 157, please. I'm sorry, 156. Thank you.
No problem.
I'm sorry, there's also a pin drop of the Oasis Red Bull Tavern area as well.
Okay.
Sweet.
Mr. Simon? Mr. Barnett?
Whose relevance is to the pin drop, and this plan was to go on the lake side, not street side. Is that what this is proposed?
Yes, the attack plan was to come in through the boat launch, through the water, and attack the protection detail from the water.
Each
Huh.
side.
Okay.
The entry point is from the boat launch, however you want to call it.
Any objection to the admission of 156?
Let's leave it. Yeah, I have no objection.
156 will be admitted.
Okay. Show us those two locations that you described.
So this is the boat launch pin drop from Adam Fox's phone, and this is the general location there, the Oasis Red Bull Tavern.
Okay.
The old stealth Zodiac pontoon boat.
Proposed exhibit number 157. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Can you tell us what that is?
This is a photograph taken by the FBI surveillance team as CHS Dan's Eric truck with Eric Molitor and Adam Fox as it passed the Elk Rapids Police Department on the way out of town.
This kind
As
of
they
thing
were
you're talking about in the
reconning
comment
the
happening all
location
over the
of first
country back then.
Is this, if you know, is
Rules
this
for
picture
thee,
taken
not for me.
before or after Eric Molitor talks about trying to find where the local police departments are?
So it's after where he talks about the local police departments.
Okay. Move for admission of 157, please.
Any additional questions as to the accuracy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've been down to Elk Rapids and been to the police department. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And does this accurately portray that scene?
Yes, that's Dan's truck as I saw it that day during surveillance.
Okay.
Mr. Nunn? Mr. Sadler?
Could we just stand on the objections?
And Mr. Barnett?
One question, like Mr. Wilson. This also came after, you said 3 miles, there was a handwritten map, it's 2 miles to the PD and 3 minutes. But this, that Adam wrote in the tavern. I assume this picture was taken after Adam wrote that information down on that handwritten map as
I'll kind of step through that one by one. The handwritten, I'm not going to quibble over whether it's 2 miles or 3 miles. And this occurred after the lunch at the Red Bull Tavern in which the map was drawn. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any objections to submissions?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
157 will be in it.
What do we see here, Agent Empley?
So this is CHS Dan's truck, and then this is the location of the Elk Rapids Police Department.
Let's move, if we could, please, to proposed exhibit number 161. Are you familiar with that?
I am.
And what is it?
This is a Google Earth map that I created with distance location from the boat launch to the governor's residence, and then from the governor's residence to an extraction point to Lake Michigan.
Why did you put the extraction point there on Lake Michigan?
Because on the way out of town, CHS Dan, Adam Fox, and Eric Molitor drove through a neighborhood where they could see an extraction point and discussed that being the place to take her out to the big lake.
Okay. Move for admission of
Crazy.
161, please.
Your Honor, we reject on foundation, speculation. These are facts that are not in evidence. This is just the agent's opinion as to what's taking place.
Mr. Sauer?
Yes, we reject also the foundation as well as the dicta that is put onto the proposed exhibit. We've asked that any dicta be stricken from the proposed exhibit. Candidates can objections.
Mr. Barnett?
We object again, their Molitor never discussed this.
I guess that's where this blowing up the bridge thing will come in at some point.
This is described wrong.
Agent, so the point that is marked here as the proposed point on Lake Michigan that you referenced, was that one that was selected by you, or was that a specific point that they had?
So following the surveillance, CHS Dan brought me out there and showed me the point that they were referencing. Showed me the spot that they drove through that Adam Fox noted to him, which was then later referenced by Adam Fox to the Null brothers in the car when he told them.
The Null brothers weren't in this car, Judge.
I would acknowledge that as well. Well, the court will not admit Exhibit 161 in its current form, given what is referred to as dicta, that the title of the document. If perhaps the map in and of itself, based on the testimony, were tried to be admitted, the court may revisit that decision, but at this point, 161 will not be.
Understood. Thank you, Judge. 162, Agent Empley, can you tell us what this is?
Yes.
Go ahead.
These are the Google searches found on Eric Molitor's phone pursuant to a search warrant.
And what date were these searches made?
They were made on August 29th, 2020.
Okay. How many searches are make up this exhibit?
6 separate searches.
Okay. And what are the searches for?
Objection, false for speculation.
You could just say, what are the searches? Instead of what are they for?
The difficulty is in answering your question, it comes when you get stuff. Agent, in a general sense, what would be substance of these searches?
In a general sense, all the searches are for the address.
No, sir.
Please stand under objection.
We would object as to relevance. Mr. Molitor did not discover any address. He explained it, they did come in, but they never opened. He didn't discover anything. He didn't provide any stuff for that. he's got reasons for what he did. He said it does speak for
Well, the
itself.
defense has given no ground on exhibits. They're objecting to most of these, and in some cases, good objections.
Well, it does find that there is a relevance to any tendency to prove or disprove, and so the prior fact may find this assisting them in doing that based on the nature of the searches, whether it was successful or not, and also help them prove the negative. So it does have a tendency either way. And based on that and the criteria as has been qualified and testified to contribution of 162 would be.
Let's work through these, Agent Empla.
Here we go. Search
You
time.
can enlarge the first one, please, Adam. What do we see here?
So right here on the left, this is what Eric Muller typed into his phone, Governor Whitmer cabin address.
And obviously the URL code is in the next column, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and what do we see in the next column, last visited? What's below that?
This is the time and date stamp. Of course, it's in UTC.
Okay, now the UTC, remind us what that is again?
That's Greenwich Mean Time.
And
It's -4, -5 hours.
okay, and in this particular instance, it's also designated PM, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so we would be subtracting, depending on daylight savings time, 4 to 5 hours off that, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, can we go to the next search that he made, please? What do we see here? And these are in descending order in terms of chronology so far?
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead and tell us.
This is another search, Governor Whitmer cabin address. There's the URL, and then this is 5:49 p.m. UTC.
Okay. That would be a second search he made then, is that correct?
Yes.
These are separate searches, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, go on to the third one, please.
This is a search. The term is Governor Whitmer cabin address, and it's 5:48 p.m. UTC.
Okay. The next one, please. What do we see here, Agent Empla?
The search is a little bit different. It's Gov Whitmer addresses, Antrim County Cottage and Boat Controversy, 9 and sign 10 News. And it's from 5:47 p.m.
Okay. Okay, the next one, please, Adam.
This search is Governor Whitmer cabin address, 5:47 p.m.
UTC time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the next one, please.
This is a similar search, Governor Whitmer cabin address from 5:47 p.m.
Okay.
UTC.
And I think that
I guess the
concludes
search
it.
wasn't
Is that
working
correct?
very well.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Keep doing it over and over.
Judge, looking at the foundation sheet here, if you're looking at the times, you show 5:47, 48, and then within 2 seconds, you have somebody typing in another whole search string. I don't know about you, Judge, but when I type things on the phone, it takes me more than 2 seconds. And it's on the 9th, the 8th, the 7th, and then you get
The
a
old
string
speaking
of
objection.
24 seconds, and then you get a string of another 18 seconds, and then it just seems like these are really quick. If you're within 2 seconds of typing these strings, I believe there's a combination of machine judge.
Mr. Wilson,
Another talking objection, Judge? No.
Yeah.
the
What was that?
objection is noted for the record. The document is submitted, does include the times, as well as communicated to the jury, and the times are what they say they are. So the document speaks for itself.
Thank you.
Okay, about to enter a new area judge. Not sure if you want me to dive in and keep going.
Even the DA's tired of this. It's his own case.
Well, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a nice long hot Monday for everybody, especially after the weekend, so let's here for today. We'll have you back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Just to give everyone a heads up, I am considering switching our start time to 8:30, given our pace today. But we'll make that determination if necessary. Tomorrow morning will still be a 9 o'clock session. Okay? All rise for the
All right, so that's the case for today. I'm going to look at it a little bit tonight and see what else I can find out about it and get up to speed a little bit more. All I really heard today was these guys went to lunch and discussed this and had some conversations in the truck that the state has to support their case. And they thought about stealing a pontoon boat, in theory, and that's what I know so far. And when I say they, I really only mean the one defendant. So far, none of this evidence has gone against the Null brothers, who are also defendants.
Mr. Arden, can you just remind them, I forgot to tell them, just to leave the paperwork upside down, just as they have in the past.
So, holding that to make sure I'm on
Not at all.
every list. And that's it for today. So we'll see if I can stream it tomorrow for anybody that's interested. This case is kind of falling off the radar a little bit, but it will be interesting to see what happens with the prosecution's
No, I
case.
second your idea. It's 8:30 start time, so.
We're going to start at 9 o'clock tomorrow. But we'll see.
So there we go, 9 o'clock tomorrow.
Mr. Sack?
No, thank you, Judge.
Mr. Barnett?
Just gonna help everybody, and if there was a question.
All right, guys, thanks for stopping by and chatting and telling me about the case to get me up to speed on it and some things to run down on it. And hopefully see you tomorrow. Thanks, bye.
Click on that, and you go back, showing that